Adventure that promises to blend the magic of birding with the rich tapestry of culture and history in southern Peru. Today, Victor Manuel Nature Tours is proud to showcase two new tours, led by Doris Valencia, a native Peruvian with unparalleled birding experience and a deep understanding of her country's heritage. On our first journey, Feathers and Traditions, an exquisite journey of birds and culture, beckons us to explore the wonders of Machu Picchu and the ancient Inca capital of Cusco, surrounded by a panorama of cultural sites and breathtaking landscapes. From the majestic Andean peaks to the verdant valleys and serene lakes, we'll be immersed in a world where every corner holds the promise of revealing incredible bird life. And for those eager to delve deeper into Peru's natural wonders, our second expedition offers a brand new tour along the legendary Manu Road. From the Andean cloud forest of the lush rainforest of Manu National Park, this journey promises encounters with some of the most dazzling birds in the world. From its inception above treeline, outside the city of Cusco, to its terminus in the Amazonian lowlands, the Manu Road is a 170-kilometer traverse of the Andes Range, passing through several major forest types. It is said that 1,000 species of birds or more inhabit the forest along the Manu Road. Thanks for joining us today to learn more about these extraordinary journeys. Where birding and cultural immersion intertwine to create an experience that is both enriching and unforgettable. Whether you're a seasoned birder or a passionate traveler, Southern Peru awaits with its treasures ready to captivate your senses and leave you spellbound. Now, let's turn to Doris for her feature presentations.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining me today. I'm super excited to be here to describe two of my favorite tours in Southern Peru. I will take you on a virtual journey and the highlights of both trips that include Cusco and Machu Picchu and the famous Manu Road. So let's begin. So my first trip is the Feathers and Traditions that is starting in September 2nd to the September 14th. And during this trip, we're going to discover, the sacred Asian civilizations and immerse yourself in breathtaking landscapes and witness the wonders of nature in one of the most, on one of the world's iconic destinations. This will be Cusco and Machu Picchu. So this trip promises to be nothing short of extraordinary. We have an overview here of our trip. Our trip starts in Lima. A 50-minute flight will take you into the city of Cusco, which is the capital of the Inca Empire, my hometown. Upon arrival, I will be waiting for you at the airport, and from there, we are going to start our expedition. So our first stop will be the Ramsar site, the wetlands of Huacarpay, which are only 45 minutes drive south of the airport in Cusco. And this place is important because this place has been protected since 2007. And the main reason is to protect the grounds for migratory birds, which we get during your boreal winter, as well as austral migrants and a very large list of resident species. So these wetlands will be our first introduction to Andean birding. So here you could see some of the iconic birds. One on the right is the Andean gull. This beautiful gull is found as high as 14,000 feet. No other gull will get that high. And this one that has his black hood is wearing his breeding plumage, which we are certainly sure to see during September. One of the other species which is iconic to this kind of habitat is the Plumbeous rail, which often is hard to see, but we always make sure that we take it out and we get a good look. We also could see a number of seed eaters, hummingbirds, and one very special bird is the Andean flicker, okay, which is often seen on the ground because you see at this elevation, Cusco is at 11,000 feet. So during this short drive, we are going to drop as low as 10,000. And of course, at that elevation, trees are not abundant. So this particular species of flicker will spend most time on the ground. After we spend a good amount of time in the wetlands of Huacarpay, looking for different species of sparrows, hummingbirds, and tanagers and seed eaters, we'll continue our drive, and our another stop will be the archaeological complex of Pisac. Pisac is one of the 300 archaeological sites you could find in the Cusco region. Okay, and all of them are known by people, maybe 10% of them are, and actually visited by people. So Pisac is one of them. You could see the amount of farming terraces. A lot of this place was specifically used for farming in the past. And you could see that the terraces go way from the top down to the bottom. The reason is that, the ancient Peruvians here use the steep slopes to recreate microhabitats so they can grow a number of crops at different elevations. One of the reasons we are going to be visiting the archaeological complex of Pisac, besides the important history and the important events that took place there, will be to look for this special bird. This is one of the several endemics we hope to see during this trip. This is the bearded mountaineer, a beautiful hummingbird that often is found close to the ravines of this site where we find kind of scattered bushes. It likes to be, it's very secretive, it's found pretty high up, but Pisac will be a very good place to find this species. So this hummingbird is good size, about 5.5 inches big, and it's a beautiful bird, and we hope to see it in the vicinity of the archaeological site of Pisac. So once in Pisac, we are already in the Urubamba Valley, and one of the reasons we've designed this itinerary this way is because once we are in Cusco, we gradually start to drop in elevation. So Huacarpay is at 10,000 feet, and then once we enter the Urubamba Valley, we are going to be eventually arriving to Yucay, which is going to be our center for the next 3 nights. Here, we are already at 9,000 feet elevation in a beautiful intermontane valley known as the Urubamba Valley, or also known as the Secret Valley of the Incas. We selected the accommodation we use for these trips carefully. This is a very beautiful facility. Used to be a convent in the past, and it was converted into a hotel. So the grounds are beautiful. We are going to spend enough time in the grounds to find a number of birds that are commonly seen, like hummingbirds, grosbeaks, seed eaters, often flyovers of raptors. So this is going to be our base to explore the wonderful Urubamba Valley. So this is where we have all our breakfasts, most of our dinners, and this is from where we will be exploring the rest of the valley. The facility we are going to use during this tour, if you want to look farther in, is called the Posada del Inca Yucay, in a very charming little community at 9,000 feet. So, of course, once in the Urubamba Valley, we have a whole set of activities on program. One of them will be the visit of a nearby hummingbird garden, which is run by a local friend. This project started during the pandemic. This garden attracts up to 14 species of hummingbirds. Okay, one of the iconic species here is the swordbill hummingbird. Look at the bill, the size of the bill on that bird. It is amazing. It comes to the flowers and to the garden. Other species that are more commonly present in the area will be the giant hummingbird, the largest hummingbird in the world, 8.5 inches big, And then, of course, the sparkling violet here, one of the beauties that can be seen in this particular garden. We're going to spend an early morning there, because most of the birding will be done early in the morning when things are cool and birds are more active, and then we'll continue to other cultural activities for the rest of the day. Of course, our time in the Urubamba Valley will be, very productive. We are going to be learning a lot of ancient Peruvians about the pre-Inca cultures that inhabit the valley, as well as the Inca. One of the most important visits during the Urubamba Valley, during our stay in the Urubamba Valley, will be the visit of the iconic site of Ollantaytambo. You can see it here on the left-hand side. We are going to stroll through the cobblestone streets. What it makes Ollantaytambo very unique, unlike others, is that after hundreds of years, the urban planning of this particular town has not changed. Okay, so we're going to walk through these narrow streets and interact with locals. People still live in what used to be the facilities and the homes of people in the past. Nothing has changed there, which makes Ollantaytambo a very unique place. It's known as the last living Inca town in existence. So we are going to spend quality time exploring this little community. Other sites will include the very interesting farming station of Moray, with these circular terraces, which are actually quite unique to the area. What people did here, they just took advantage of the natural depression in this big plateau that is located between the Urubamba and the Cusco Valley, and built these amazing terraces. Basically works like a greenhouse, because they were able to recreate different microclimates and expose the different kind of plants they used to grow to different elevation, to different humidity, to different rainfall, and therefore they were able to grow a number of crops from different habitats in one particular area. The other very interesting site is the site of Maras. Here you can see the number of little pools. There are about 3,000 of them, and what they are used for? They were basically used to extract salt through evaporation. Okay, we are going to actually go there, go for a walk, take a close look to it, and see. You could see the coloration will tell you the process they are into, with the whites being the ones that are close to be evaporation and therefore to harvest. So the salt that has been extracted from this place dates from the pre-Inca time. The Inca used it, and it was used in the colonial time, very important part for the local economy, and is still in use by the locals of a community called Maras, which use this particular place for the extraction of salt during the months that they are not working the land, which will be during the dry months between May to middle November. Of course, as this trip is basically, a very interesting mix of birding and exploration of cultural sites, we are going to dedicate a full day to high elevation birding to the area known as the Malaga Pass. During this birding outing, we are going to be taking a packed lunch, so we will have it at our convenience. We are going to be driving on a side valley of the Urubamba Valley, and during this drive, we are going to be getting the highest. If we make it all the way to the pass, we're talking about 14,000 feet elevation. Okay, we stop at the pass briefly to look of what we can see, because it's a very interesting habitat. Even at that elevation, you still find birds. And then we'll go beyond into the eastern slopes of the Andes. During this full day of birding, we are going to be exploring a very interesting habitat that is known as the Puna. This is high elevation habitat with the main concentration of straw and very short bushes, hardly any vegetation. At this elevation, despite the coldness and the dryness, we find a big variety of species. For example, one of them is the Andean goose, which likes to be up at high elevation in little lagoons that are formed thanks to the runoff after rains. Another good species to find there is the Andean ibis, beautiful bird. There's a number of seed eaters, finches, even hummingbirds are found at this elevation. The vistas of the area are fantastic. You could see here the highest mountain along the Urubamba range of mountains, which we will be seeing a lot, is 18,500 feet. When we go over the pass in a clear day, we have beautiful views of this mountain, considered a very important mountain deity for people in the region. So here you could see a little bit more of the road and how will be the birding conditions. So basically the birding is done along the road. We stop at different elevations looking for specific things. This day promises to be wonderful because we are going to see a lot of endemics. We are going to see high elevation species and many species that are restricted to one particular habitat, which are dominated by polylepis trees. So this day is basically a day of exploration of high elevation that promises to be wonderful with a lot of birds at the end of the day. And of course, after we spend time in the Urubamba Valley, the most special part of the trip will be when we take the wonderful train ride for an hour and a half along the Urubamba Canyon into Machu Picchu. One thing that is important to mention here is that with Bent, we carefully pick the accommodation, but the best part is that here we are for 2 nights, which is more than most visitors stay, which give us the chance to see the wonderful and magical city of Machu Picchu for 2 opportunities. The first day, we visit the site all together as a group, and the second day, we could do that again for those that feel like wanna see it again, wanna take their own exploration, wanna soak it in and experience this wonderful place. Machu Picchu is a beautiful spot. What it makes this place incredible is its location, surrounded by beautiful cloud forests. And here you can see that Machu Picchu is a masterpiece, an amazing piece of hydrology, architecture, planning with an amazing location. We're going to take our time to go on a tour to see the most important parts of the city, such as the Temple of the Sun, the water fountains, the terraces, the Temple of the Condor, and many others. And this is not going to be just an archaeological visit, but also the birding in the vicinity of Machu Picchu is wonderful. Often we've seen Andean condor soaring over the site, good place to see white-tipped swift. Hopefully we'll have a good view of the Inca wren, which is a Peruvian endemic, only described new to science back in 1983. So Machu Picchu promises to be a wonderful experience, with a lot of history, and of course, learning about the nature that surrounds this wonderful place. During the days we are in Machu Picchu, we are there for 2 full days. We are going to be birding, of course. So this is just a small sample of the wonderful birds we might see. Of course, Andean cock of the rock is a highlight during this part of the trip, which often is seen in the premises of the hotel. We could see in this area up to 12 species of hummingbirds, most of them attending hummingbird feeders that have been carefully placed in the gardens of our hotel. We are going to be spending time exploring trails where we have chances to look over the Urubamba River, where we might see the wonderful torrent duck, versicolor barbet, Andean moth, and several other species. So where are we staying in this part of the trip? We are staying in the fabulous Inca Terra Machu Picchu Pueblo Hotel. This facility is the best facility to stay at if you are looking at nature and enjoying birding. This hotel has beautiful gardens, and also has very nice trails. So we are going to spend quality time on the trails looking for tanagers, for hummingbirds. You could see the facilities are wonderful. The cabins had been built in a colonial style, very nicely presented. The common areas are beautiful. There's a beautiful fireplace, bar, restaurant where beautiful meals are served. And this is where we are going to have our dinners and probably explore the nearby town for our lunches. But this is where we are going to be staying for 2 nights up in Machu Picchu. Of course, after the time we spend in Machu Picchu, we're taking the train back for another hour and a half because Machu Picchu is only reached by train or if you hike the 4-day trail to Machu Picchu. There are no roads built into Machu Picchu. After we spend time in Machu Picchu and do the train journey back, we are going to be met by our transport, and then we are driving to a different location, a completely different watershed called the Apurimac. We're going to leave the Urubamba watershed and enter a different one. And why are we doing this? Because we want to explore the Apurimac Valley, which is a completely different location, completely different to the Urubamba Valley, a little more drier, lower in elevation as well. But since we are going to be in a different watershed, we are going to experience a whole type of habitat and a whole set of new bird species. So one of the reasons we are going to this particular valley is to explore the Apurimac Canyon, where we have very good chances to see the master of the Andean skies, the Andean condor. In order to do this, we are going to be staying at a glamping facility. And here you have a picture of how the glamping looks like in the inside. really beautifully made. It has its own private facility, its own fireplace, very comfortable bed. And this is going to be our base to explore the Apurimac Valley. So the idea there is to explore the area. We can come across the Apurimac brushfinch, which is a Peruvian endemic, and the beautiful white-eared puffbird. These two birds are often seen close to the glamping area we are going to be staying. And of course, there's many more birds to be added in this part of the trip, but the habitat is completely different. In order to reach the Apurimac Canyon, where there is a very nice lookout, and is run actually by a local community called the Chonta community, we have to do an about 1.5 mile hike on a very easy trail, okay? And we are going to have a full day to do this. And the idea is to get there at about midday when the Andean condors are returning to their roost. And that's actually very nice to see, because often you have condors like flying at eye level, okay, because you are already pretty high up. We are going to be there at about 10,500 feet elevation. So the condors, when they are returning, they fly very close to the lookout, and you could see them perch in the vicinity. Scopes will be available to get close looks of them, and the views of the canyon below you are just fantastic, okay? So this activity in the Apurimac Canyon will be for a couple of days, and after that we'll continue our journey, leaving this wonderful habitat, and we are going to go into the Cusco city. Cusco is my hometown. I was born there, and Cusco, the historical part of Cusco, is beautiful. We have a lot of very special buildings. We have the Temple of the Sun, which we are going to explore extensively. We have the main plaza with the iconic Cusco Cathedral, and we are going to be staying in a facility that is walking distance to all these places of interest. The days spent there will be basically to know more of the culture, the traditions, to visit the local markets, to interact with locals, to visit the famous site called Sacsayhuaman, which lies just north of Cusco. Days will be filled with different activities that include wonderful birding and cultural visits of a number of sites, and of course, enjoying the delicious meals in the area. Cusco has beautiful restaurants that we are going to be exploring together. And of course, part of the whole trip is to enjoy the area, to enjoy where are we staying, to interact with our fellow travelers, and to reflect on these days of exploration. So Cusco is a beautiful end of the trip. And from here, after we spend through 3 full nights exploring, our trip comes to an end, and everybody will be transferred to the Cusco airport for a flight back to Lima, and then flights to return home. So I'm very excited to extend an invitation to join me on this unique trip that combines the rich history of the Inca and the breathtaking world of birding. I hope to see you all soon. Thank you. And of course, another wonderful trip that I would like you to consider is visiting Southern Peru, the enchanting mountain road. This trip will run from October 1st to October 12th. So are you ready to discover this wonderful place? Here, we have amazing forests, incredible birds. So are you ready to embark on a journey of a lifetime? Imagine yourself surrounded by lush greenery, towering mountains, and the orchestra of bird calls filling the air. Well, welcome to the tropical Andes, one of the most diverse ecosystems in our planet, and welcome to the Man Road. So our journey starts in Lima, of course. A short 50-minute flight will take you into Cusco, where I will be waiting for you at the airport, ready to start. And upon arrival, of course, we are going to be driving in a very comfortable vehicle. These are the kind of vehicles we use for our tours. This is a 16-passenger Mercedes-Benz van, which has AC, very comfortable seats, and of course, a very good driver, okay? So upon arrival to Cusco, our first stop will be the wetlands of Huacarpay, which is a very short drive from the airport, 45-minute drive, and we are going to spend the first morning hours exploring this wonderful place, of course, while you enjoy a cup of coca tea. So in this particular area, we have to see wonderful birds, typical of this kind of habitat. Huacarpay is known as a Ramsar site, declared as such to protect the resting ground for migratory birds as well as resident species. This is just a small sample of the birds we might be able to see, such as Andean gull, Andean flicker, Plumbeous rail, and of course the bonus bird, the bearded mountaineer, which often is seen in the vicinity of the wetlands. This is a Peruvian endemic and a beautiful bird that likes to feed on the local flowers. So after that, we continue on a paved road. The good news now are that most of the road is paved, and we are going to be exploring one of the most diverse ecosystems on Earth and one of the largest conservation units in the world, and this is the famous Manu National Park. This park is 4,250,000 acres big. Just imagine that. It's humongous, okay? And this park is located in Southern Peru between the states of Cusco and Madre de Dios. What is special with the Manu National Park is that the park, unlike other parks we have in the country, has 3 areas of what are known as areas of multiple use. So during this trip, we are going to be in the cultural area of the Manu National Park. Okay, here in this kind of pinkish color, this is the cultural area. That's where all our lodging is located. Then there is the reserve zone that will be already in the Amazonian lowlands. We won't be getting that far. And the largest part of the Manu National Park is the restricted area. What it makes this place special is that it's located right on the meeting point of the tropical Andes and the Amazon basin, okay? So the immense variety of the Manu National Park in terms of altitude, microclimates, soil, and other ecological conditions results in a complex mosaic of habitats and niches. So basically here we have a massive altitudinal gradient from 490 feet up to 13,100 feet. This kind of elevation has favored an extremely broad range of ecological conditions and the evolution of highly diverse species and ecological communities, making this place a very unique area. So when we start our drive, okay, there will be an official stop when we stop at the entrance of the Manu National Park, official stop for a picture, official stop depending how we are doing with time, maybe to have our field lunch and start birding. The entrance to the Manu National Park is right at the Ajanaco Park Ranger Station at 12,000 feet elevation. From this point on, we just go down. So when we do our exploration of the Manu National Park, one of the very facilities we stay at, the very first one during this journey, will be the Cock of the Rock Lodge. Here we will be staying at 5,000 feet elevation. You can see the individual cabins, very nicely tender with beautiful gardens. Here we are going to be based for 3 nights. So being there will allow us to explore the road up and down, and therefore be at different elevations, and therefore to expect to see different types of birds. So this will be our location for 3 nights. And from there, we are going to be starting exploring. So you could see this is another view of the Cochinipata Valley, which is actually the name of the valley where the Manu National Park is located. So you could see here that the rugged form of tropical mountains, especially in this part of the Andes of South America, ensures that deep valleys are separated from one another by soaring ridges, as you can see here. This topographic complexity maintains a separation between groups of animals and plants. What's the result of this? An astonishingly, high number of species packed into very small areas. That's the reason why in the Manu National Park you can find up to 1,000 bird species, over 200 species of mammals, thousands of species of insects, and thousands of species of plants. A very diverse place indeed. So once we are in the cloud forest, we're staying at Cock of the Rock Lodge. This facility is run privately and is within what is considered the cultural zone of the Manu National Park. the area of multiple use. And here, this particular reserve protects 14,000 acres of cloud forests. Okay, very important in this matter. Because in Peru, besides the national system of protected areas that are run by the Peruvian government through the Ministry of the Environment, something that has become very popular and is actually giving excellent results is the national system of private reserves that started in 2001 with the declaration of Chaparrí in northern Peru as the very first private reserve in the whole country. And of course, after that, many more started. And the Cock of the Rock Lodge, run by the organization called Peru Verde, is one of them. And they protect 14,000 acres of forest at 5,000 feet elevation. So this will give us the opportunity to spend enough time up and down the road, explore nearby forest trails, to visit nearby gardens that are run by locals. And also the gardens at the lodge are quite superb with hummingbird feeders and bird feeding stations. So here we get very good chances to see a big variety of birds. There's a couple of species of toucans. This is the blue-banded mountain toucan that we will be hopefully seeing along the road. Golden-colored honey creeper, beautiful bird that often comes to the feeders at the lodge. The versicolor barbet, which is a beautiful bird. This is one of the 2 species of barbets we should be able to see during our trip. Crimson mantle woodpecker is a beautiful bird, often seen with mixed flocks. And of course, we have different species of raptors. This is a good shot of the solitary eagle, which is often seen along the road. So basically what we do during our exploration, we take the van, depending on what we are doing that particular day, we might have an early breakfast or sometimes breakfast in the field if we want to reach a certain elevation. And we just spend our time walking along the road. And often this is the best way to do it because often we encounter very large mixed flocks that will have a huge variety of birds. Often it's difficult to focus on what you are seeing because there's so many birds at once. And then suddenly they're all gone. That's the magic of mixed species flocks in the tropics. So we should encounter many of them and hopefully add a lot of birds to your list. One of the main iconic species of birds in the cloud forest are, of course, hummingbirds. During this trip, we might see up to 42 species of hummingbirds. Many of them, during our walks, but also around the lodge gardens and feeders. And of course, tanagers. Tanagers of the former genus Tangara are the most colorful in the New World tropics. This is just a small sample of all the ones we could see. This is golden-eared tanager and golden tanager. There is paradise tanager, orange-eared tanager, blue-headed tanager, bay-headed tanager, you name it. There's many of them. And the early mornings are very good and very productive for tanagers and other species. And of course, quetzals. In this part of the Manu Road, we have 2 species of quetzals, the golden-headed, which is the one here in the slide, but also crested quetzal. Both of them have been seen in previous trips, and we're going to spend enough time exploring to make sure we see these beauties. These birds are all nectar and fruit eaters, and they're very important seed dispersers. One of the main and probably most important reasons we stay in the cloud forest at 5,000 feet elevation is because very close to the lodge is actually managed by the lodge, is the visit of a nearby Andean Cock of the Rock lake. If you are not familiar with the term lake is actually a Swedish word that means to play, but in a sexual connotation, okay? And nobody really knows what it is that it makes a place suitable to become a lake, but these birds know, and they've been using this place who knows from how far back. But what is true is that this lake is very close to where we will be staying at Cock of the Rock Lodge, and we are going to dedicate either a morning and an afternoon, or either a morning and afternoon, to make sure everybody gets a good look and actually learn how lakes work. So what happens here? In a daily basis, during the breeding season, which starts in July towards March, so October is a perfect time of year to see this activity, We get there early in the morning, before sunrise. We accommodate ourselves in our blind, and we just wait for the birds to come. The cock of the rock is a beautiful bird. It might not have the best call of all birds, but its beauty is in the plumage and in the behavior. So this particular leg, depending on the time of year and how is the weather and how is the food available in the vicinity, up to 11 males could attend this particular leg. What is interesting is that, of course, not all the males will get to mate. Many of them never get to mate, but they come anyway. Okay, so the males have a hierarchy. There is an alpha male, of course, who gets most of the girls and all the satellite males in the vicinity. What is interesting is that the males gather anyway. In my experience, I attended these places, and often no female shows up, but they have to come anyway. Okay, and when a female does show up, this is crazy. The males start to jump on their branches, and they start to spread the wings, as you can see in this picture, spread the tail feathers, start to vocalize. And often, if a female is interested, she might land close to the male, peck him on the back of his back, and off they fly together. They copulate somewhere, and then the male returns and keep on dancing. Okay, that's actually what legs are about. So the female is the one that does all the building of the nest. She brings up the young, she does all the nesting duties. But females are known to be low density. There are not as many females as males. So this is basically about competition and a very interesting, mating ritual that takes place every morning if the conditions are right in the cloud forest. So we are going to dedicate quality time to see this, and just a very short distance from our facility. So this is the Andean cock of the rock, and this is the national bird of Peru. And of course, after we spend this beautiful time in the cloud forest, we are going to continue dropping in elevation all the way to 1,700 feet. Okay, and what's our next location? The Manu Biostation. Once in this area, we are going to be already in what is known as the foothills of the Andes. The Manu Biostation is actually a biological station run by a very important Peruvian non-profit organization called the Association for the Conservation of the Amazon Basin. They run a number of research facilities in the Manu National Park and also in Southern Peru, in the Madre de Dios region. So Manu Biostation is one of them. This is actually a research station, but they do accommodate birders and nature enthusiasts just like us. And, they have all the facilities, very comfortable cabins, as you can see in this picture. And here we are going to be staying for 3 nights as well, to fully explore and enjoy the foothills of the Andes. So here we have, a very interesting schedule, of course. The idea is to explore and suck in all the beauties of the foothills of the Andes. One of the things we will certainly do is visit a couple of gardens that are run by locals. This is actually becoming very important in this area. In the past, when I started my guiding career, I used to go to Manu in the late 1990s, early 2000s. Things like this were not even possible. But of course, with examples seen in Ecuador and Colombia, where locals are being more involved and more active in their communities, and establishing gardens where people could actually visit for a small fee, involving more locals into conservation, which is really very, very important. So we are going to visit 2 of these gardens. One is called Inca Amazonia, and the other one is called Sickle-Bill Garden. And here we have excellent chances to see a wonderful set of birds. Here we are already much lower, okay, so therefore the species will be different, but they will still be very beautiful, and we will get a lot of surprises. So when we visit one of the gardens, we have excellent chances to see like flocks of green honey creeper, there's purple honey creeper, turquoise tanager. Some of these birds do come to the gardens, to the number of trees that have been planted for the purpose, like, trees that we know and learn through experience that these birds enjoy, little berries in the Myconia genus, which is actually a melastome, which are really very important food for birds. And bats and other mammals. And of course, there's hummingbird gardens and bird feeding stations. So these birds are seen well and close. So those of you that enjoy photography, these are excellent places to do it. Of course, here we are going to be seeing other special birds. There's game birds like guans. This is the blue-throated piping one on the right-hand corner. Okay, of course, one of the most iconic birds in the tropics, the hoatzin. The hoatzin is really one of those bird celebrities that every birder wants to see, and we will have very good chances to see it and look at its behavior. This is known as the only folivore bird in the world. It's so rare, the hoatzin, that is placed in its own genus and its own family. Nothing is similar to a hoatzin. It's that unique, and we have very good chances to see it once in the foothills. Of course, you might have heard about tinamous. Tinamous are ground-dwelling birds, and they are very abundant in the foothills. They're very shy, but often, if we spend quality time in the forest trails and we are quiet, we might see them. Okay, and there are several species that occur right around the lodge grounds. So here there is a view of the foothills of the Andes. So one of those days we are in the foothills, we might go for a stroll and take a short boat trip, just to give you an idea how different it is coming all the way from the top of the Andes all the way down to the Amazonian lowlands. It's such a contrast, and you will see it in one area. So that's why, birding in the Manu Road is like doing different trips all together, because you cover such a big variety of habitats that, that's just not possible in many areas, and Manu has it all. So this is really a very special area. And of course, one of the highlights during the trip is the visit of a nearby facility where often we've had chances to see, the master of the Amazonian skies, the king vulture. Look at this beautiful bird, so different, white with a multicolored face. Often these birds seen very well. And of course, ampitas, if you are familiar with some tropical birds, ampitas are probably the hardest to see. But there's one place, if we are lucky and we are in the right time, we might be able to see the Amazonian ampita that comes to a feeding station. This bird is mainly heard than actually seen, but we have good chances to come across one when we are in the foothills of the Andes. So the days spent there are basically, quality time exploring the habitat, enjoying the species, learning from the ongoing projects that are taking place in the research facility we are going to be staying. It's very interesting to find out how people from different parts of the world come this far to carry on very important studies in birds, insects, plants, you name it. And it's very interesting to see all these, young people dedicating their life to research. So we are going to have the opportunity to learn about the ongoing projects at the research station as well during our stay in the foothills. Hummingbirds. I was mentioning about the number of hummingbird species we might see during this trip, up to 40 species, depending. It could be more, it could be less, but we always hope for more, of course. Here, that's just a small sample of the hummingbirds we might see. Probably one of my favorites is the rufous-crested coquette, which is here on the left-hand side. Look at this hummingbird is only 4.5 inches big. Look at that beauty. That's the male, of course. Look at that crest, wearing his beautiful plumage. These males are often come to the gardens around the lodge and also the gardens we will be visiting. The female is as beautiful, she just lacks the crest, but she's still beautiful. Others include the Gul's jewel front, pale-tail barbthroat, many spotted hummingbird, and many others. The amount of hummingbird species in this particular part of the Andes is amazing. There's so many species, and since we will be covering such a big variety of habitats, I'm sure we will see many, many. And after we spend time in the foothills, of course, it's time to slowly retrace part of our drive and continue to our next and last lodging facility, which will be the Waikecha Biostation, Waikecha lies at 10,000 feet elevation, also run by the non-profit organization Association for the Conservation of the Amazon Basin, the very one that also runs the Manu Biostation. Here, we are going to be at 10,000 feet elevation. Look at the amount of forests here. They protect thousands of acres of land as well. And this is also a research facility. So they have very nice cabins, comfortable cabins, a very large dining facility with big windows that overlooks the garden where we could see a lot of action, at the feeders. So we're going to be spending 2 nights at this facility and, of course, enjoy high elevation birding here because you see, we are still in Manu. We haven't left the area, but you could easily stay a month, I'm telling you, and you will still see new species every day. It's that diverse. So what's in the menu in regards to birds in this particular area? Of course, several species of hummingbirds, many more that we won't see in the lower areas because here is 10,000 feet elevation. A whole set of new species are found in this area. There's different types of flycatchers, but probably the biggest attraction in this particular ecosystem that is known as upper montane forests are the mountain tanagers. They're beautiful. While Tangara tanagers in the cloud forests are popular, the small colorful tanagers, up in a higher elevation, the big heavy tanagers, mountain tanagers of the genus Iridisordis and others are very popular. And the grounds of the station are really an excellent facility to see them. Here you could see the grass green mountain tanager. It's a beautiful bird, and they are not tiny, they're good size. So if you see them, you will be seeing a very good size bird. It's not a tiny little bird. And the hooded mountain tanager. So during our stay, we explore some forest trails, but also a lot of the birding is done along the road. Look at this beautiful bird, the scarlet belly mountain tanager. This is one of the biggest attractions of this area, the mountain tanagers. Of course, mountain toucan, and this is the gray-breasted mountain toucan, which is often seen in the vicinity of the lodge. The lodge has a wonderful bird bath. Okay, this bird bath attracts a whole variety of birds that come in the morning for a bath. So we're going to hang around the lodge, of course, pay a special focus to the bird bath and see what we can find. A lot of the birds will come in the morning to bathe, and that's like, you get excellent shots of them because the bath has been there for various years now and they are not afraid of people. So they have a little lookout where we can see them, and we are going to be spending quality time looking at the feeders as well, hummingbird feeders and bird feeder stations. Compared to the birds in the lower areas that enjoy bananas, up in this elevation, the tanagers, they like bananas, not as much, but they like grapes and apples. So the lodge often puts out apples and grapes for them, and it's very interesting to see the different birds that can be attracted to these fruits. And of course, it's not only about the birds in this particular area, also the orchids. If you are a flower enthusiast, this is the lodge has a beautiful orchid garden. Actually, Peru ranks #1 in the world in the number of orchid species. Okay, we even host an orchid festival in the northern part of Peru in a city called Moyobamba every November, every year. You can find up to 46 species of orchids in the lodge gardens. This is just a small sample of the orchids I saw when I was there one time in October. So different species, different sizes, from the very big ones to the very microscopic ones. And of course, the cloud forest, and the upper montane forest is the perfect habitat for orchids because, the amount of vegetation there, is characterized by dense forest that is clinging to the steep slopes, and they are kind of bathed constantly in moisture, provided by the clouds that form above and drift to the moss-covered trees, adding a lot of humidity to the vegetation there and allowing a lot of epiphytes to grow, such as bromeliads, liverworts, and of course, orchids. So if you love flowers and orchids, the last lodge we will be staying at during this trip, has a beautiful orchid garden. And of course, we see a lot of orchids also just driving along the road. Thanks, and come and join.
Hey, Doris, thank you for that wonderful presentation.
Hey, Ben, how are you? Good afternoon, everybody.
Good, wonderful. And also everybody in the audience, thank you for attending. Soon we'll open it up for a live question and answer session. And before we do that, I wanted to go over the slides again, the summary of the 2 tours. We have Southern Peru, Feathers and Traditions, September 2nd through 14th of 2024. The price is $6,395. Price and double occupancy from Lima, and the tour limit is 12. I think we have about 5 signed up at this point. And the second tour Doris has is Southern Peru, birding the enchanting Manu Road. And that one is October 1st through the 12th. And that's $4,995. And that one is, here we go, I have it on this slide. That one is a tour limit of 8, and we have 5 signed up. So at this time, we have 3 available. We also are offering both of these tours in 2025. And the detailed itineraries are in the handout section. So if you would like to download either or both of these itineraries, it is available in the toolbar on the right of your screen. So now let's go to some questions. Gay has a question here. Can one see the spatula tail hummingbird?
Well, no, spatula tail is one of our beautiful hummingbirds, but this is only found in a very small region in northern Peru. You just have to join us on the James. We have a trip to northern Peru in November to see that particular hummingbird, but you wouldn't see it in the south. It's just restricted to the northern part of Peru.
Oh, that's right. You have a feathered gems of northern Peru, the marvelous spatula tail, ant pittas, and much more.
Yeah.
So that one's November 8th through 18th, 2024. That one is sold out. But there is space available on the departure in 2025. Do we have any other questions from the audience at this time? Feel free to put them in the chat or the QA section of the toolbar. Doris, can you tell us a little bit about the climate, what the temperature ranges from high to low? Does it get really hot? Does it get really cold on each of these tours?
Okay, so for the trip during in September, when we do the Cusco and Machu Picchu area, September is our dry season here. We are not supposed to have any rain, but in the past we've had rain. So in some of the recommended items to bring is a rain jacket, just in case, because if we do get rain, that's more likely to be in Machu Picchu because the cloud forest is unpredictable. It can rain any time of the year. And in regards to temperature during the trip to Cusco and Machu Picchu, we are mainly in intermontane valleys. And here, the weather is very interesting because, I'm a local and I have to be prepared for all the different temperatures in a daytime because this time of year in September, early in the morning is nice and fresh, not really very cold that you have to wear heavy layers on you. But as the day goes, it warms up. It could easily get up to 25 centigrades. And then towards the end of the day, the air loses heat very quickly. So then it can get cool, but never, below freezing in that time of year, okay? When we are in the Manu Road, okay, the cloud forest, it could be very nice and pleasant. There are times that it can get up to 80, 85, 90 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, then as we go to the foothills, it can get even a little warmer than that. In the midday, which is the time of day we take a break, a little siesta, so you gain energy for the afternoon activities. It can get pretty warm because we are right already in the foothills of the Andes. But then at night, the temperature gets very pleasant. Okay. The only place during the Manu Road that it will get cool and a little damp will be when we go up to the upper mountain forest. The last place we stay up in White-tufted, that's the name of the area, about 10,000 feet elevation. In the daytime, it's sunny, but at night, the air loses heat so quickly that it's damp and cold. So there, that's when we use the extra layers, okay, because it can be pretty chilly, but no, below average or below freezing or snow or anything like that. We are only 13 degrees south of the equator, so our snow line is above 14,000 feet. So snow is very rare even at that elevation.
Great, thank you. We had a comment from Cynthia. Excellent webinar. Thank you, Doris.
Oh, a pleasure.
And Genevieve says, a big thank you, Doris. Great getting to know your trips and your birding style. And then George has a question. Are there special luggage limits for Machu Picchu?
Yes, thanks for the question, George. Yes, when we do the Machu Picchu part of the trip, since we are there for 2 nights, we always request people to bring a small carry-on, okay? Because for this portion of the trip, there's no need to take everything with us, meaning that we take a small carry-on for the 2 nights we are going to be there, having in mind that we are going to be in the cloud forest, 6,000 feet elevation. That's the elevation at the hotel in this little community called Aguascalientes. And then when we go and explore Machu Picchu, we gain elevation up to 7,500 feet. So the weather there is very mild. It's actually quite nice and pleasant. It could rain. This is when we take a rain gear. But everything else, because by then we've already been in the Urubamba Valley for like 3 days. Maybe there's some shopping you did or the items you don't want to take with you. We leave that behind in the hotel, okay? And we just take a little carry-on for that part of the journey, because we really don't need to take that much with us, but also because there are restrictions about the size of the bags on the train. There is a space for luggage, but limited to 1 carry-on per person and your day pack, which is pretty much what you need. Everything else stays at the hotel. And when we return from Machu Picchu, I will make sure that we get all that luggage that was left behind, that gets back to us for the continuation of our trip. But yes, there are restrictions about luggage when we go to Machu Picchu. We do not take everything with us. We just take a carry-on for 2 nights.
Great. Thanks for clarifying that, Doris. Rosemary says, thanks, Doris. Looks like great trips. Well, it looks like that's all of the questions that we have at this time. But if anyone has any further questions or comments, please email me, ben@ventbird.com. I'd be more than happy to find the correct answers for you, and I hope you will consider signing up for one or both of these extraordinary tours with Doris Valencia. We'd like to thank Doris for joining us today.
It was a pleasure. Thanks for your time, and I hope to see you on one of these trips. Thanks, Ben.
Wonderful. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye. Have a good afternoon.